G'day everyone. Welcome to episode number 18 of the Cold-Blooded Contributions podcast. The Cold-Blooded Contributions podcast is proudly sponsored by Midwest Tongs. For over 40 years, the Midwest Tongs team has provided the highest quality snake handling tools made in the USA. Made by professionals for professionals. We're your hosts, the Ipers. I'm Ty Iper, and with me is my husband, Scott Iper. This podcast will bring to you people in the hobby who have made an impact on us creatively, be it artistically, with data, or improved our husbandry. Today we are stoked to have with us Amber Harrison and Jesse Campbell. How are you guys?
Good, how are you?
Yeah, good.
Good, thank you.
Tell us a bit about yourselves, guys.
My name's Amber. I'm 25 years old. I'm the full-time reptile and conservation keeper at Symbio Wildlife Park. I've been doing that for about close to 4 years now. So, yeah, run the basic reptile house duties and I'm involved in some of the conservation programs there.
And I'm Jesse, and I'm 22. I've got a pretty bad haircut, and I like to run around in the bush and look at lizards and stuff.
And just as long as you don't come across any praying mantises, yeah?
Grasshoppers. I'm not praying mantises, it's just grasshoppers.
Or
Grasshoppers.
Or spiders.
Yeah, just all of them.
If it's got more than 4 legs, you're a bit concerned, eh?
And I
We should have no legs, preferably.
and I'd just like to say, way to make the host feel old, you two. Thanks.
We literally have kids the same age as you guys.
Older.
Yeah. Where did you guys grow up, and how do you think it's affected who you are today?
I grew up in kind of like Janelli, but also out west I had a farm at Mum's house in Landilo. So we had 25 acres out that way. There was lots of ponds, so lots of frogs, and we had deers, goat. What else? We had a boar at one point that was named Pig. We trained him to roll over. So I think that probably had a big impact on my love and appreciation for animals, always running around trying to catch green tree frogs and then bringing them in the house and getting in trouble.
So did you say Landilo? Is that right?
Yes,
So
yeah.
whereabouts is that? Where's the nearest major town of that?
Western Sydney.
Cool.
And I grew up in the Shire, near Heathcote sort of thing, so I had easy access to good herp spots around the Royal and Heathcote and Darrawall and stuff, so I didn't have to travel too far if I wanted to go out and see things, which just meant easy access. And we backed onto the bush as well, so there's a creek down the back of mine where you can sometimes see things too. An easy base to walk around and find things without having to go too far, which was easy when I didn't have a licence.
That's it.
Definitely.
So spent a long time on pipeline and stuff like that, mate.
Oh, too many nights on pipeline.
It's like the introduction to Sydney herping, isn't it? Oh, we're going to go to a night on pipeline.
And then you see nothing and you have to walk up that huge hill at the end and it's just salt in the wound after a huge night.
Yeah, it's not bad when it goes off, but it doesn't go off that frequently, does it?
No, really. I've had seasons where I've literally walked it 15 times and not seen a single snake on it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a bit of a love-hate relationship.
It's kind of funny, though. If someone gets a broadhead on it one night, the next 4 nights, there's people all over it over the next
Yeah,
next 4
you
nights.
guarantee. It's like that with everything in Sydney. Every time there's something else that turns up, it's a swarm of people that are out there trying to find it.
It seems to be the same, though, in Brisbane and that as well. You have a good night in Brisbane or someone gets something decent in Brisbane and then you go up the following night and next thing you know, there's car after car after car of just people.
Yeah.
But it's just like, really?
You can't blame them. That was definitely what I was doing when I was younger as well. As soon as someone finds something good, I'm racing out to that spot to try and find them as well.
Did you guys ever expect to be doing what you are now?
Well, I did a business degree at university when I was straight out of high school, so I guess not. I always loved reptiles and just animals in general, but I didn't think it was a possibility to actually work in that sort of an industry because I always thought it was too competitive. But after I kind of started volunteering at Symbio, it opened up a lot of doors, and now I can't see myself really doing anything else other than working with animals.
From what I hear, you're nailing it, so no, I don't think so.
Yeah.
No, I used to be mad into PlayStation and shit. I used to be terrified of snakes and stuff. I used to be scared of lizards even. I sort of that all just changed one day at one of my mates' places. And then, yeah, I don't know though, to be fair. I used to think that when I was younger I wanted to breed bearded dragons and stuff, and now I'm really glad that I didn't decide to do that.
So is that how you got into reptiles, or a friend, was it?
Yeah, he had a diamond and a beardy, and like I just stayed at his house one night and he just threw one on me, and I was like shitting it. And then by the end of the sleepover, I was just obsessed with it, and I wanted to get a beardy. And then a few months later, I ended up convincing my parents to let me get a beardy, and then it was just snowballed.
So is that how Malcolm sort of got into herps as well, just through your love of it? It's rubbed off on him?
Yeah. He used to just come out when I was younger, take me herping so I'm not going to get abducted in the bush or something when I was like 10. And then, he ended up loving herping as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's good. So usually he'll come on the trips and stuff. He's got his own camera. He does his photography and stuff as well. It's mad.
Yeah, you can take a decent pic too.
Yeah, and he looks after all the snakes when they go away, which is also very convenient.
That's lovely.
Very convenient.
Yeah.
What about yourself, Amber? How did you get into herps, mate?
I don't know. I think it's just the usual story. When I was a kid, always just chasing garden skinks around, keeping them in a little Chinese container and trying to feed them grass. And then I'd force my mum to not put chlorine in our little blow-up pool out the back so I could turn it into a frog pond and go out with a little torch at night and wade around in the green manky water trying to catch frogs. So I guess I just loved it ever since I was a little kid. And then I think throughout high school I drifted away from it a little bit. And then when I started at Symbio, it really connected me to other people that love it that much. And then I found the world of herping, and then I met Jesse. And then I guess once you know Jesse, there's no going back, is there?
So,
I'm changing my mind now.
So when you started at Symbio, did you start off in the herp department at Symbio, or did you move in from somewhere other? Or how did that happen?
Always wanted to do reptiles, but when I started at Symbio, I actually got told from the manager at the time that there was no opportunity for me on reptiles. They think I'm a really good volunteer, but I should kind of open up my eyes and start to look at other opportunities that might be available as well. Mm-hmm. So originally, I actually ended up getting trained across all sections, and I was getting shifts on primates and carnivores, farmyard, native mammals, and then I started getting a few casual reptile shifts as well. And then eventually some people that were at Symbio ended up leaving, and there was a full-time reptile spot that opened up and they gave it to me. So it all kind of just fell into place perfectly, which was great.
I think it makes you a better keeper, though, being broad spectrum.
Absolutely. You learn a lot of other skills doing other sections, and you just start to be more of like a generalist and understand other species a lot more. And I guess at a private zoo, it makes you a very helpful staff member, because if someone's away sick, then I can just basically check the reptiles have water and run around and do natives for the day, and then catch up on reptiles the other days, because we all know they'll be fine for a day.
Yeah, I think too, the advantage of having that other understanding, whether you're working on birds or aquatics or something like that, that really teaches you your water chemistry side of things and that management. It's important to be able to do that stuff, but then also to be able to look at your dietary considerations that you got in the birds and the mammals is really important. And then even doing the farmyard stuff and having that interaction, particularly with really young people, is a really good teaching method. So all of that can impact on how you work with reptiles and amphibians as well. So, but
also to our age, like we've seen zoos where it was a reptile, it was in an enclosure. Okay, the enclosure might have been nice, but now enrichment, well, not now, but in the last few years, enrichment has come across in a big way, whereas before it wasn't there. It was just a reptile enclosure.
Yeah, exactly. With nothing in it, some dirt and a hide.
It had a perception of a decent-looking enclosure, but it was effectively fairly barren.
Yeah, absolutely.
From the animal's point of view.
I definitely think that the reptile hobby in general is evolving more and more over time, and everyone's getting into those naturalistic and bioactive setups even at home these days, and it's definitely coming across into the keeping industry as well, which is great to see.
Isn't it?
Definitely. Do you guys keep anything at home?
Jesse keeps a lot of brown tree snakes. He loves them. I don't really keep that much at home, actually. Dad was never really the biggest fan of reptiles. I had to do a lot of convincing reptiles when I was younger, and a snake was always off the table, so I ended up with 2 smooth knobtail geckos. Excellent. And then I convinced him to let me get a jungle carpet python, because I told him it would only get 30 centimetres. He realises now that was a lie.
Hey, we do what we can, hey?
Exactly. But now I'm a reptile keeper and stuff. He's like, oh, it's fine. You know what you're doing. So it doesn't stress him out like it did when I was 17.
What about you, Jesse? What do you keep, mate?
I have 9 brown tree snakes because they're the best. And then I have a water python, a woma, a brigula mulga, like one of those red ones.
Yeah.
They're young colettes and a young red belly. And I think I'm getting 2 more boigas soon.
Excellent. So
Just to round it off.
do you think that there's one species of boiga in Australia or more than one?
I reckon it's still one.
Really?
Well, I don't know. Where will the line start where one starts and one stops? Because, in like Queensland, when you sort of get out into that dry country, it makes some look like on the fence between like an eastern and a night tiger, and then like the further you go, it seems like there's not really like a...
Oh, you've got that same area like at Hurricane Station up in far north Queensland where you've got Arafura snakes and freshwater crocodiles and golden tree snakes. They come that far east, even though it's only 100k from Babura, Mareeba area. So basically everywhere west of there, I would suggest, is your night tiger form, and then everything east of that is your eastern form. And then whether or not the animals that are in New Guinea are the same as the animals that are on the Cape, but whether they're the same animals that run all the way down the east coast probably remains to be seen. It wouldn't surprise me if they did the genetics and they turned out to be 3 species.
Isn't there like something like Boiga irregularis, Fusca or something is like the top end night tiger or something like that?
Yeah, Fusca's for the Western Australian population. It was described from Lake Argyll.
Right.
And that encompasses your night tigers. And then you've got Boiga, Boidii from the eastern areas. And then you've got the irregularis from New Guinea, or it's described from New Guinea.
Yeah, right. True. Oh, that'd be interesting to see what comes out there then.
Need someone to do some phylogenetics on it and really sort out the group within Australia to see if it's all the same thing and it's just colour variation or if they are, in fact, different taxa.
Yeah, I swear around Mareeba and Gelatin and stuff, which isn't that far west, you still get boigas out there that look like, you could call them night tigers as well. They've got the strong stripes and stuff as well.
Oh, I got them like that at Mount Carbine.
Yeah, but then it's weird because then in the same spot you'll also find boigas that look a lot more like that eastern sort of colour form, so it gets confusing, I reckon.
They seem to get much bigger up there, though. That's for sure. Like, caught them up near 6 foot up there. So, but I don't think I've ever seen a 6 foot brown tree snake in Brisbane.
Yeah, that's an impressive snake. I hope my boigas get that big.
That's it. That's the thing. I don't think I've seen a night tiger that I can recall that's been larger than about 5 foot long.
They get pretty big in the Kimberley, I've seen photos of some stonkers up there.
Yeah.
The biggest one I have at the moment is probably only like 5 foot, I think. But it'll be cool to see how big it gets over the next few years. Have you seen that photo of Matt Somerville's pet one? It's like huge. It's like the biggest boiga I've ever seen photos of, I reckon.
Nah, on Guam they get to 9 feet long.
Yeah, haven't they killed people in Guam?
No, but they've tried to eat people. They've tried to eat babies in Guam.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing boigas are the favourite animal in your collection, Jesse?
Yeah, just by a small amount.
How did you guys meet?
Symbio.
Yeah.
You were stalking Amber?
Yeah. I just followed her to work one
And then
morning.
he kidnapped me. And I've been trapped here ever since.
Yeah. No, I used to work at Symbio as well, and then we were both on casual reptiles, and that's how we met. And then we started going herping and stuff, and then
So romantic.
I could tell you how we met, but it's probably not audience appropriate, so I'll do it afterwards.
Definitely not audience appropriate.
And we were friends for how long? 2 years?
Yeah, about
And then we went to Indonesia together.
Oh, now that bit's romantic.
That is. Jesse's gone red.
This is where we should have visual as well, yeah? Who does most of the driving on your herp trips and why?
Jesse, because he thinks I'm a terrible driver, but he's probably not wrong.
Just driving scares me because on our first trip we did to Burke, I was like asleep and I woke up and I just opened my eyes to see like those wide load road trains that are like halfway in your lane. And she's just driving towards the car in front that said give way. She just didn't even look at me. road train coming towards us, like halfway through our lane, and I had to grab the steering wheel and swerves off the road before we died. And then since then, I've just been terrified of falling asleep while Liam was driving.
I need to preface and say that at the time, Jesse lost his license, so he couldn't drive. And this is like the first time I'd been out into basically the desert. And it's the longest drive I'd ever done. And I'd never seen one of those oversized vehicles before. I had no idea what oversized meant. And I just saw it and I was like, well, no way is that going to be on my side of the road. Yeah, well, I'm like, watch it go past. I'm like, oh, shit, that's the whole entire house.
If it makes you feel any better, I'm such a chick, I didn't know that when what's that grill on the front? Is that the radiator?
Yeah.
When the radiator fills with huge locusts, it'll slow the car down. So we're in the Northern Territory, me and a mate, and the road train is angrily making overpass motions. So Scott had rented us a wicked camper van that wasn't fast to begin with, and he's like fully signalling to overtake. So I start overtaking. There's another one coming. And my mate's going, fucking floor it. You're not going fast enough. And I'm like, my foot is seriously on the floor. And we missed, not by much. He actually wet himself, and I wasn't allowed to drive after that at all. It was very close. I let Scott do most of the driving because I get lost. Well, I don't let him. Same reason. He doesn't like my driving, and I get lost easy.
Yeah.
Look, I'm not complaining.
Yeah, me neither. We get to Sydney and everyone's like, oh, how long did that take? And I'm, about 2 or 3 hours because I slept through most of it, yeah.
It's the most boring drive from Brisbane to Sydney, I reckon.
I wouldn't know.
Yeah, true, yeah.
What's been your favourite herping trip and why?
Oh, Komodo.
If you don't say Indonesia here, Jesse, you're going to get slapped, mate.
No, I'd say probably Komodo was up there, for sure. For me, what about you, Amber?
Well, I was going to say that, but now I'm going to change my answer and say Thailand.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, I reckon Komodo.
Komodo was just like so nice.
Yeah,
The whole thing, it was like a holiday and a herp trip all in one.
Nice.
Yeah.
Have you guys been to Komodo?
No, not yet. It's on the list.
It's like, it's incredible. You just stay on the boat the whole time. You see these awesome sunrises and sunsets, and you get your little boat into the islands and there's nobody else there anymore because you have to have a guide with you to go on the islands at night time, and then you're just finding awesome species.
Yeah, you just wake up
more pythons, you go.
You just wake up at sunrise and you just jump out off the side of the boat into like the crystal clear coral reef that you spend the night over. It's so sick.
Jesse was terrified there was crocs and sharks.
Yeah, like, I was there with crocs there, so.
That sounds awesome.
It does sound good. Did you see any Laticorda or Acrocordas while you were there?
We saw none. We tried for Laticorda in Bali a couple of nights, so we got skunked hard though. But yeah, it's just another reason to go back. But we were talking about it yesterday, going back for Russell's and spitting cobra.
Yeah, absolutely.
Russell's a massive target.
High tide for the Laticorda, eh?
You what?
High tide for the Laticorda.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even think we had high tide when we were looking.
No, we didn't. Not at Bali either.
Yeah. We went harder to try and get a synodon in Bali, and we didn't get that either. But lucky we got one in Thailand, so we made up for it.
I think that's also one of the good things about Bali and that. It's so cheap for us to go back.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like, say, Europe or America. If you miss the species, there's a lot of saving there.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd love to try it. I'd love to go to Java.
You can just take a boat over to Java from Bali as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Don't
So.
you get the blue vipers on Java too now?
I believe.
Yeah, I think you do.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
It'd be good to get to Lombok to see the yellow one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's another one we want in Komodo is the yellow Solaris.
The list never ends, does it?
No.
Well, but then we also want to go see Malcolm's again. We want to try for them one more time. I don't know. I want to go see Blue Coral Snake because they're the family without me.
Sorry, Jesse.
Sounds like Amber's a better herper than you, mate. That's all.
Probably. You should have seen some of the vipers she was spotting in Mount Kinabalu. Like, saw maybe a centimetre of green scales in the middle of this bush, and somehow lost these vipers at the base of the fern bush. I don't know.
What was that, Trimesurus saberi?
Yeah.
Well done, Amber.
Carrying the team.
That's it.
I reckon Malcolm was carrying the team.
Actually, to be fair, he was.
He was probably 30 blind snakes.
Yeah, he was a king of blind.
Yeah, he was king of crash.
What's been your worst injury on a herping trip to date, guys?
Well, we were swimming one day, and then I started chasing Amber, and then I was chasing her around the edges of the bank of the water, and she slipped and kicked her toe, and then I looked down and she split her toenail up to the base.
It was peeling off.
Yeah, and there was blood and everything.
Oh.
And it's just, I felt so bad. And then Amber was fine. She wasn't even freaking out. And I was like, stay calm.
Where was that?
That was down at Darrell.
Oh, okay. All right.
Local spots.
I was going to say it may not have been great if you were in the middle of rainforest in Thailand and then end up getting an infection in that environment. It's probably not great.
Yeah, the water.
Canals in Bangkok or something.
Oh,
Yeah, Dad grazed the back of his hand lightly in Bangkok in one of the canals. It ended up getting infected and stuff.
yeah, it was bad.
The smallest little graze. So you can imagine if you fell in the water or
Yeah.
even getting bit by a snake that comes out of the canals, I reckon I'd be paranoid about an infection.
I must admit, I was a bit concerned. Ty and I went down into one of the creeks in Bali, and we climbed down this embankment, and
We didn't quite climb. I fell down it and almost took Scott down it.
So I'm okay on steep slopes. Ty's probably less.
I'm unco as fuck, I'll say it.
Yeah. So Ty's not as good on the steep slope. So basically, I get down in front of her and brace myself and sort of give her something to stand on so she could get down into the slopes.
He stupidly said, if you fall, aim for my knees, I'll stop you. What am I supposed to do?
So it was fun, right? But when we get down to the bottom, there's broken glass and broken tiles and nappies and it wasn't great. But then you look across and it's Insularis, tree snake, slug eater. It's okay, well, there is advantages to being in this. There's absolutely stressful. So.
Yeah, just talking about it makes me want to go back. I think at the end of this year, we'll definitely be doing something good. We just got to make up our mind. And it's fuck, trying to book a herp trip with me must be so shit. I feel bad for him because I just change my mind every 2 seconds. We were going out to Waiala. We were supposed to be, and then we're driving out there. And then we're like, fuck, should we go up to Windora tonight instead, actually, or should we do this and that? And it was just so overwhelming for Amber because, every 30 minutes when I was thinking about other options, I was like, oh, we could do this or we could do that. And then we were just like, no, we are not changing the plans now because...
I feel your pain, Amber. Sounds like Jesse's got ADHD.
Just a little bit. It's good though. It gives me energy to keep going.
There you go. Don't bitch, darling.
Exactly. But sometimes these random ideas that he has end up being really good. So
sometimes,
yeah, often we do them, and I'm like, yes, I'm glad we did that. But this one time, I'm like, well, if we go there, then it's going to add an extra 10-hour day driving. Actually, no, I think it was one day it was going to be 15 hours.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to see a thorny devil. And that was my main target for the whole trip. And I'm glad we did that. Very glad we did that.
And then, we were going to go to Windora because there's a better chance of typing. But it worked out well because we just went to Super after Waiala and got there the next morning. So it was fine.
I call that the scenic route, Jesse, if you need help there.
Oh, yeah.
That is a fucking scenic route. If you go Windora going to Waiala via Windora, fuck me dead. That's a drive. Where would you like to go, but you haven't been to yet?
I really want to go to Madagascar.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but also at the same time, I would love to just do some more herping in Australia because, to be honest, I haven't really done many herp trips in Australia.
Yep.
But I always I just want to go overseas while I'm young, heaps. And at the same time, a lot of overseas herp trips end up being cheaper than doing a herp trip in Australia.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the amount you pay for food on a herp trip in Australia is madness these days.
Too, like the hotel costs, if you're using the hotel, petrol, flying, everything's shot up so much.
I think the one place I'd like to go and see would be Taiwan before because Taiwan's going to change shortly when it goes to China's rule. And then the way Westerners can get around in Taiwan is probably going to be significantly restricted as to what it is at the moment.
Really?
What's in Thailand?
There's like heaps of snakes. You get cobras and crates and stuff out there.
Oh.
But I've heard people get like 120 snakes a night.
Are you serious?
Yeah, and Taiwan's a whole nother level of craziness.
I want to go to Singapore. Yeah. Because I want to see a blue coral snake really badly and a king cobra that's outside of Bali Reptile Rescue.
Yeah. Yeah, well, in Singapore, I think they're still Ophiophagus Hannah now. I don't think they're bungarus anymore.
Oh, right. In Singapore?
In Singapore, I believe they would be Hana, not bungarus. I'm sure somebody will correct us if we're wrong.
Oh, actually, I really want to go to Costa Rica too and look for bush masters and stuff, do like Suriname and stuff.
The frogs in Costa Rica.
Yeah, glass frogs in that.
Costa Rica's right there for me as well.
I had a list and then I sort of realised that I maybe should shuffle the list around in order of how common the species is.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Where would you guys never go back to and why?
Never go back to having a normal haircut, Jesse, or what?
You went there. Yeah, I've never gone back to the barber.
I cut his hair for him.
Amber cuts my hair for me. So you're actually insulting her as well.
Yeah.
Amber, I think you're adorable, but your taste in haircuts.
I reckon it's just so she can grab onto something if she's riding it. It's her reins on Jesse. Jesse's reins. Anyway.
I don't know. I reckon.
I'll try anything twice.
Okay.
I don't have anywhere that I've had any really negative experiences that would deter me from going back there again.
I'd probably never go back to the property I trespassed on at Windbora when the lady came out and started screaming at me.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
That's probably about it.
What have you got to take with you when you go herping? Is it your camera or your head torch? Which one?
If I had to pick, I'll probably take my head torch.
Yeah, I feel like you don't do photography as much as you used to.
No, I don't do as much photography now, so probably my phone and my head torch.
Oh, God, you're on your phone.
Yeah.
So Snapchat everyone what we find. Shoes, unlike Jesse.
What's the weirdest or the most unexpected thing you've seen while out herping, guys?
Jesse has some good stories.
When I was like in the Botanic Gardens in one of these towns, like taking photos of a keelback, and I like shine the torch on the track behind me, and there was like a crackhead just standing in the middle of the track in the darkness watching us.
Lovely.
Yeah, there was so many crackheads that night. Like, we were taking photos of like frogs and shit with like heroin needles in the garden. Yeah, going, but nice keelbacks there. So,
whereabouts was this, mate?
Botanic Gardens.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Safest place on earth.
I was just going for a bushwalk once and walking around this corner, and this guy looks me dead in the eyes and I was on my own as well, and he goes, "I can smell your perfume from a mile away. You shouldn't wear perfume while you're walking on your own in the bush." And I was like, "What the hell?" I like panicked, and he was like, and I went to walk the way he came from. He's like, "Oh, no, that's not the way out. Go down this way." And luckily I knew where I was, and the way he told me to go was like just down a creek. And so then I went the other way. As soon as I got out of his line of sight, I just sprinted as fast as I could out of there.
Sounds like you dodged a bullet.
Yeah, that was pretty unexpected. Now I just make sure Jesse's with me always.
Yeah, much safer.
Yeah.
We were coming home one night. Where were those guys on the side of the road doing the dance?
Oh, yeah.
It was like 3 a.m.
Brigalow.
Okay, from the Brigalow, and it was like 3 a.m. and there was these two guys on the side of the road. It was pretty cold at that time, and the heater was cranking in the car, put it that way. And there were these two guys. One was just stabbing the dirt with like a rubbish picker-upper, and the other guy was in nothing but small shorts and long socks, and he was like doing this, I don't know, like wavy sort of dance thing.
No, he had a high-vis jacket on.
Oh, that's right, he had a high-vis jacket on. And I just looked at Scott and I'm like, did you see that? And he goes, did you see that? And I was like, well, I think I'm having an acid flashback. Did you see two men on the side of the road being weird? And he's like, yes. I was like, sweet.
Okay, I'm not hallucinating.
Pretty much.
What the hell?
That doesn't sound fun.
That's when you just drive away. It's fun.
Yeah, spot on one, not on the road right next to him.
No hitchhiking.
Yeah.
Guys, what are your unicorn species?
I actually have no idea.
Mine did rusty monitors in cans because like every time I go look for it, like they're actually so easy. And all my mates don't find them. But then every time I go look, I either get skunked. One time I saw a little tail, like the tail of one in the hollow, but like I've never like had a proper good look at a rusty monitor. I feel like if I wasn't being respectful of the habitat, it would probably be different. Some people just go in and like smash looks at it and shit, but not about that. So even though it's going to take a while.
I reckon they're easier at Gladstone, eh?
What do you say?
I reckon they're easier at Yeppoon.
Yeppoon, where's that?
East of Rockhampton.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah, there's a spot there.
Yeah. Might have to head straight up there.
Well, we're going on a trip.
Yeah, pack your bag then.
What camera gear do you use, mate?
White. I use a Nikon D70-100, and I usually just use like a 100mm macro lens.
Are you using a Nikkor or a Sigma or a Tamron, or what do you use?
A Nikkor lens. But on my last trip, I got a new car recently, but when I leave my technology in the tray, in the fucking Barclay, in like 50 degrees, things just overheat and it just cooks them. So there's an expensive lesson to learn because I completely cooked my laptop and I completely cooked my camera and my SIM card full of photos. So I had to go buy a new laptop. I got my new camera yesterday, which is just like a marketplace second-hand version of the camera I already had.
Yeah.
And then, but I lost a SIM card full of photos, and I also lost all the shit I had on my laptop.
Do you back everything up, mate?
Well, usually I back up all my photos and stuff, but it's my files, like my dragon paper and stuff, were on the desktop, and it said they were backed up to iCloud. So when they weren't there, I went to check iCloud. Not there, so I lost it all. But lucky I've got them in email change. But there's still a bunch of things I lost, like my feed records for my snakes and stuff, which is a bit annoying, and the notes I was taking on trying to breed boys and stuff, which is a bit irritating. But at least I didn't lose anything critical.
I found out something the other day the hard way in regards to Google Photos.
Yeah.
So Google Photos now will copy the photos off your phone, and if you give permission to it, and automatically it sort of gets permission when you sign up to Google, unless you go in and physically turn off the sync, if you delete something out of the Google Drive, it'll delete it off your device as well without you knowing about it. So I ended up losing about 500 habitat photos and stuff like that from my last trip.
That's so hard. You have to like unsync it first before you delete them from your phone.
Yes, I now know that, Amber. Yes.
You're like, sorry.
No, it's all right, mate. It was just a painful lesson to learn. I was like, fuck, where the fuck did that go? And then that's what happened. So, because I got a notification saying that you need to expand your Google account because you've only got 15 gig there. So to expand it, do this. I was like, well, I can just delete these because these are like on my phone. I don't need these photos up on the drive.
Yeah.
So I did that and deleted them off my phone at the same time.
That's so painful.
Yes.
Amber, do you like taking photos?
No, I think I've taken 2 photos on Jesse's camera.
Wait, you put it that up?
Yeah, they def that up. I'm really bad at posting on social media and stuff. I usually just take photos of things for myself, and I just like being out there and looking for them and kind of enjoying it. And I worry that if I start doing photography that I'll become so focused on getting good photos of the animals that I forget to enjoy where I am, what I'm doing, kind of being present in the moment and stuff. So just don't think I'll get into it. I like to take videos on Jesse's video camera for his YouTube videos and stuff. That's fun, but I'm just good with my phone pics.
Cool.
Sweet.
Do you guys record your finds, like using sightings or Herp Mapper?
I used to use sightings heaps, and then another time like Well, it's actually happened like 3 times. So it's kind of my own fault at this point. When I like break my phone or something and then it's not backed up. Sightings records, you can email the things to yourself, the records, but I've only done that once. So I lost like shit tons of sightings records and stuff. So now I just GPS pin on Google Maps, but it's annoying because then I can't add comments on the weather conditions and stuff.
Have a look at HerpMapper, mate. HerpMapper does all of that for you. And you
Isn't that like, can't other people see those though?
No, you set it to private.
Oh, what the hell?
So you have the option of either making them public or private. And if you make them private, everything's private. So the record's private and all your notes are private as well. So you can put everything there and it works internationally as well.
Downloading it right now.
It's pretty good.
What got you into photography, Jesse?
Oh, I don't even know. I think Dad used to, when we'd go home, he had a camera and he'd take photos of things. I'd be like, oh, that looks fun. And then I'd borrow and take photos, and then I was like, oh, this is actually pretty fun. And then, like, the more you meet other people, they photograph things, and, oh, yeah, it's sick. I kind of like, give that a whirl. And then I was, like, mad obsessed with it for a while. But then, like, I sort of found, like, sometimes I find it's taken away from the herping a bit, so I stepped back from it a bit. I'm not photographing things as much now, which I kind of like. So I'm not fussed if I don't get photos or something, but if it's something I can get some quick photos, I'm happy with it.
Yeah.
Just kind of like where I want to stay. I don't want to be obsessing over photos, because then you just like forget to enjoy the animal, and then like if you get an uncooperative animal, then it's like now I'm just not fussed really. It's cool just to see things, and getting photos is just a bonus.
Definitely. I think too though, sometimes with the trip, it reminds you see the photo and then you might think of things that were a bit obscure but were quite important at the moment, and it's a memory of the trip.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I agree with that.
Can you give our listeners a tip that has helped you with your photography?
Oh, I think my tip is that it doesn't matter if you don't get the shot. You're always going to find more animals, and you never put getting a photo above the animal's well-being.
Well said.
Yeah, very well said.
Yeah.
You've started a YouTube channel called Jesse's Wildlife. What made you start that, mate?
Doing those videos when I was in like high school, and then started copying some shit from my mates and stuff. Over a few years, I was like, I'm going to keep trying to do it, because I actually just find it really enjoyable to make. And I filmed a bunch and then posted them, and then I finally forced myself to film when I posted it. And then I just wanted to consistently keep doing it because it's just enjoyable, and it just adds something new. And then I always forget about things I find and do and stuff, and then I can just watch back on them in a few years' time, and it's just something cool. I want to start thinking about filming even videos just for myself to look back on in 10 years or something that I'm just never going to post. Just because I don't know, I feel it's cool to look back on things, but I just like posting those videos, and it also adds something to herping and stuff as well, and it's probably helped me take a step back from photography in the sense that if I found something really sick and I really wanted to capture it, but I couldn't get it, it wasn't sitting still and I can't get a photo, it's easy to just get a video of it slithering along or walking along, and it's so much easier and quicker. And sometimes I'm usually just happy to just get videos of things. It's usually the one or the other if I'm going to do it, and I just like it. And then the more I've been posting videos, the more I've been seeing comments about people that don't like snakes and that are scared of snakes and stuff. So I've been trying to change some people's opinions on snakes and stuff as well. I just find it enjoyable, and it's just something different. I don't think there's that many people that are posting those herping videos and stuff, and I like watching them. People that hurt me and stuff. So yeah,
definitely. How much work is it, guys?
Oh, not that much, to be honest. We spend a few hours editing. They're not very good videos, to be fair, but
they're great.
Yeah, I spend sometimes I'll just spend a Sunday just editing a few videos and stuff. It doesn't take too long, to be honest. And the hard part is finding storage for all the videos and stuff on all my devices, and backing things up on the hard drive repeatedly. That's probably the most tedious part.
What's your favourite vid on the channel, mate?
Probably the inland taipan one that I posted from one of our last trips, because it's just a really cool snake, and finding it out when we found it. Yeah, it's just mad. It was good. It was such a good trip, and I found that one fun to make. So yeah, probably the taipan.
Amber, was that yours as well?
Oh, I really like that one. I just always see his videos getting better and better, so it seems to be always the newest one that comes out is my favourite. I really like the overseas ones, even though they didn't do super well, probably because it's just cool to watch them and then kind of like relive when we were over there and stuff too.
I think it's like when you take photos though too, right? Is you're continually improving, and you've got things that work for you, you've got things that don't necessarily work for you, but you've got to try it out anyway to see how well that's going to work for the stuff that you're doing.
Is that what you say about my photos?
I don't have to like your photos. You don't have to like mine. You know, I took 600 photos while I was away just recently, and you're like, I don't like any of those.
Oh.
You know.
No, hang on. In perspective, we were looking for a certain style of photo. And, okay, everyone's, I guess, opinion of everyone's photos is different. Beauty's in the eye of the beholder. And for me, what we were looking for a certain photo for, I just didn't think... Well, it didn't grab me, put it that way.
So in other words, my photos are shithouse.
No, they weren't shithouse. I'm sure other people would like them. Oh, we've had people ask for photos for books, and I'll have taken one, and you know when you get an idea in your head and it just doesn't pan out, but you keep them anyway because they're probably the only photos you've got of said species. So that was the case, and they weren't great. So this person has taken the photos and gone, yeah, love them. I'll take that one, and that one. And Scott just looks at me and he goes, I thought they were shithouse. Yeah, we don't sugarcoat it with each other.
No, we're brutally honest.
What's the most popular vid on the channel?
Maybe
you getting harassed by a frilly?
No.
Or is it Amber saving you from that scary huntsman?
Yeah, that one was probably like the most viral video I've posted. Yeah, that one.
It did go viral.
It's reposted now.
Yeah.
I've had people at Symbio come up to me and be like, you that girl with that spider? And I was like, yeah, that was me.
You've rephrased that wrong. Are you the girl that saved that man?
Save that other girl.
When Jesse's clothes are out on the washing line, I have to check him for grasshoppers.
Yeah, they get in my clothes, and I'll take my clothes in and put them in my room, and I don't see a grasshopper. They get out in my room, and like they'll be on the walls and shit. Yeah.
This is when the terrifyingness comes from.
Yeah, so...
I've pulled a few all-nighters recently when Scott wasn't here because there was a cockroach on the hallway near the bedroom. So I get it. Yeah. Totally get it.
Yeah. They're just not cool.
Jesse's mum was... No one else was here. I was here. I was having a shower, and I just heard her screaming from the kitchen. So I ran out in my towel. I thought something really bad had happened. It was just a little bug had crawled out of the lettuce, and she was like, "Emma, help me, help me!" So I'm not like, or if there's any bugs or anything that get in the house when I'm here, I'll all be standing in a corner.
It's good to feel wanted, isn't it, Amber?
Yeah, I feel like a real hero. And last night at the wedding, I'm going to the bathroom and there's a grasshopper just on the wall. So Jesse's like, on the wall, and he can't get into the bathroom because it's like right next to the door, so I have to like move it so he can go to the toilet.
I hear you, Jesse. I hear you. It's roaches, but I hear you.
Yeah, they're not cool at all.
Tell you what, if you get yourself a little Jack Russell, they're quite good at working out what your fear is when you offer treats as a reward.
Oh
yeah.
Grasshopper catcher.
Yes.
Our little canoodles like to eat common eastern froglets.
Oh.
Yeah, you try to stop it, but I've seen her like licking them up off the pavement. It's not good, but
there's enough of them.
But then it's like, well, we could never move to Cairns with these dogs because then they'd probably last 2 seconds with the toads, baby cane toads and stuff.
I must admit the toads here scare me.
Yeah. And people don't like. Is that common that people stress about their dogs eating toads?
Well, we lost a parenti to one.
I remember you telling me about that.
Shit, really?
Yeah, it was devastating.
Oh.
I think for me the worst bit was the parenti pit was right in front of a pit that had lacies and turtles in it, like a massive pit with a pond and everything. And because it was lacies and turtles together, I assumed that it had to be one of the turtles. And I could smell it and I couldn't find it. So I tore a strip off Scott going, I fucking told you this wasn't a good idea. Rah, rah, rah. No, it wasn't from that pit at all. And when we got into the parenti, it had gone into the hide. And the other parenti was sitting there with its arm draped across the dead one, like to humanise it. You know what I mean? It was like, oh, my God, I've lost my cage mate sort of thing. And it was horrible.
That's
On to a better topic. What do you love the most about being a reptile keeper at a zoo, Amber?
Oh, that's a hard question, actually.
Closing time.
Yeah, well, closing time's annoying because the zoo closes at 5, but I also technically finish work at 5. So it's like 4:59. I'm trying to close the doors in reptiles, and it's always the last place people duck in. I'm like, get out! What's the best part? There's so many different aspects that are like rewarding for different reasons. Obviously, play a big part in the conservation programs at Symbio. So reintroducing species into their natural ranges or their geographically extinct locations is pretty cool.
Definitely.
But then the day-to-day stuff, like feeding freshwater crocs is pretty fun, and doing the reptile shows, it's fun too.
What do you reckon is the biggest misconception that people have about zookeepers?
That we don't do much and that you just clean and feed animals, that you're just playing with animals all day. I think that people think it's an easy job as well. It's a dream job for a lot of people, but there's a lot of record keeping. You've got to be really detail orientated, getting onto the slightest things being wrong with animals. It's quite a high stress job as well. I think people, it's a rewarding job, but at the same time, you're caring for me, for the reptile section, over 200 individual animals that their care falls on me, like they're my responsibility. So
yeah.
I think that's not something people maybe consider as well.
I think, too, the attachment, if it's an older animal or something like that, they don't consider that.
Oh, we've got some
animal keepers as well, that's probably the hardest because they have such social bonds and connections with the animals too. I think for me with reptiles, we love them, we care for them, but it's easier to kind of emotionally detach from them as well.
You guys have got some pretty interesting mixed exhibits at Symbio. Can you tell us about that? Do you ever get people sort of challenging you guys about the central blue sitting there with the brettles and stuff like that? Or
yeah, well, personally, I love mixed species exhibits. Like, no matter what, you keep two snakes together, you keep a snake and a lizard together, you always run the risk of it. Right, but at the end of the day, being able to showcase species that you would naturally find occurring together out in the wild in a naturalistic display is, I think, fantastic and something I'd love in my home as well. So I think at the end of the day, it's kind of worth the risk. And if you monitor them and manage them appropriately, then usually the risk is pretty low. Like, you do have things go wrong, but you're always going to have things go wrong when you're looking after so many animals, or even if you're keeping animals at home as well.
I think the risk management is the key to it. You can have a multi-species enclosure as long as you have appropriate numbers of retreats, appropriate numbers of hides, appropriate numbers of barking sites. The animals are able to figure out what they want to do in that enclosure, and as long as they've got that appropriate environment, it doesn't matter. It works.
Exactly right.
I think you nailed it, Amber. But the problem is a lot of people don't see it that way. They've been told you can't do it. And I don't recommend doing it to a lot of people because you don't know what their husbandry's like.
Exactly.
If they're not up with it, then there's every chance it'll go wrong.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. And if you don't know what you're doing, your chances of something going wrong go up exponentially. But if you've been keeping for a long time and you're learning from experienced keepers and other people that have been in the hobby or the industry for many, many years, and they're saying to you, do this, and you've learned from doing something wrong before, right? Then that experience and that knowledge goes a long, long way in keeping animals together as well. I just think that it's all, like, everyone makes mistakes, right? So we've all made mistakes and we've done something wrong, we've done something silly, and you go, I'm not going to do that one again.
Yep, like you said, as long as you learn from it.
Absolutely. I think that there's maybe a bit of misconceptions of you have to be perfect straight off of the bat and you can't do stuff wrong. But we have a lot of new volleys coming through and new and upcoming people, and if we just bring them every time they made a mistake, then we're not helping these new people kind of grow and learn and have space to get better.
Yeah.
I got told years ago that mistakes are only costly if you don't learn from them.
Exactly.
What's your favourite animal at work, Amber?
Come on, who's the one that gets the extra bit of food?
Did you say Jared?
Now. Jared doesn't need extra food. He's a good lad. Kai might get upset, and Jake might get upset if you say that, though.
You keep Jared well fed, lots of positive reinforcement. Really well.
So what are you saying, that Kai and Jake don't need that either, or? Yeah.
Oh, they do. Yeah.
They need that as well.
Yeah. Favorite animal. I really love the little gators we have.
Yeah.
The two little 3-year-olds, because I had them since they were a year old, and I've done target training with them, and they're just basically like puppy dogs now, so it's good fun. I target train them to swim over, touch the target with their nose, and then they have to sit and wait for food, because some of the older gators we have are super foodie, and they just like jump up at the side of the ponds, and a couple of times I've been walking past and got a bite on the side of the bum, so I didn't want these ones to be the same.
Symbio does some awesome conservation programs, Amber. Can you tell us a bit about them?
Yeah, we have 3 conservation programs now. So we have had a program since, let me see if I get it right, 2016 or 2015 for the green and golden bell frogs. We've probably released over more than 20,000 tadpoles.
Excellent.
Wow.
Probably more into a couple different release sites. So we have a release site in Armcliffe. They're like man-made ponds. Yep. And there's basically like a frog-proof fence. So it's very highly managed. There is chytrid fungus at those sites. Obviously, that's kind of the point of them, to keep them at a site with chytrid to see if they evolve or whatever. But your bell frogs are just not the hardiest frog species ever. So it's probably going to be a really long-term project. And then we also reintroduced them to Cornell, so at the desalination plant. We've got another release site there, so they haven't been there in 36 years. So there were kind of the hopes with having these programs is reintroducing the species to their original ranges where they got wiped out from due to industrialisation and urbanisation, and also, of course, chytrid fungus, as we all know, is not good at all. Mm. There's also the Belinda River snapping turtles, which is going fantastic. Not fantastic for the turtles out in the wild. There's less than 100 wild turtles left. They're probably one of Australia's most critically endangered animals. But we work with Taronga on that program. We have a partnership. There's more released turtles in the Bellingen River now than there is wild turtles, which is crazy to think about. Yeah. Symbio got our turtles back in 2017, and we've been raising them up to breeding size ever since. And last season, we got our first clutches of eggs, and we managed to get through 7 baby turtles. So that was pretty fantastic, yeah. And then this year we have had 5 females drop clutches. Being still quite young, you do have lower fertility in the eggs, but like the fact that they're breeding is just fantastic as well.
So are you guys head starting for release?
Are we planning to release them? Is that what you're asking?
No, are you head starting them to get them sort of up to a certain size to reduce the numbers?
We'll typically release it about a year to 2 years old.
Yeah. So how big a carapace do they have at that size? At that age?
They'd be close to 100 grams at that size. They'd probably be...
So about an 80 millimetre carapace.
Yeah, maybe a little bit smaller than that. Yep. When they hatch out, they're like 20 mil.
Yeah.
They're so small.
Yeah. There's quite a bit of plasticity in the shells. The shell's sort of a little bit elongated, and after a couple of days, they seem to flatten out a little bit. So they change shape a bit. So. Correct.
They're so soft at first, and then, they harden up and stretch out, and because they've been curved up in that tiny little egg.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they're beautiful little turtles. They used to be incredibly common until that bacterial infection came through, and then now one of the biggest threats is actually Macquarie turtles that were probably introduced there in about 5,000 years ago.
Yeah, and there's concerns of hybridization occurring with macquarie eye as well. But yeah, they were perfectly fine, and then 2015, that nidovirus swept through the river, decimated approximately 95% of the population. The interesting thing about that virus is it actually ended up travelling upstream, and no one's figured out why yet either. So maybe it's direct turtle-to-turtle contact. But Taronga's turtles were actually collected from the upper parts of the river where the virus hadn't yet reached.
Yep.
So that's all their genetics are from there, whereas Symbio's turtles were actually collected in 2017 post-virus. So they'd been living in the river with the virus, but they hadn't yet gotten it. So kind of our hope, we've got some students doing some work on this, is maybe there's some sort of genetic resistance that may have, but we can't know for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah, and then there's also the stuttering frog program, which is pretty fantastic. That's pretty new. So it's kind of basically reintroducing them to their original ranges as well. Yeah. And it's also a frog that's kind of bounced back really well up in places like in the Watergan sort of area. So the plan with that is you take individuals from a resistant population, you breed them in captivity, and then you distribute them back to their original range. And there's been a few papers on that sort of stuff, and it's worked really well. So that's all.
So your Mixophis australis are from the Watergans, is that right?
They're from, kind of up near the Watergans way.
Yeah, because it's interesting that the population of, even within Australis, there's probably 3 ESUs, and one of those ESUs is likely extinct, which is the far southern population, so the ones that extended from between Eden down through to Malakuta in Victoria. They're probably completely gone.
They're presumed extinct from anywhere south of Sydney.
Yeah.
So the southern 2/3 of Mixophis australis' range, they're gone.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to think
sad,
about.
isn't it? Yeah.
It's real sad, but if you breed a genetically diverse population and redistribute them, hopefully we can bring that kind of biodiversity back to the way it once was. And we've bred them really well in captivity. And we've done some releases already as well, which we'll be probably announcing in the coming months.
Yeah. Certain Watergans australis were pretty common. I was there a couple of years ago and I saw more australis than I saw fasces or iteratus. So
it's good to see them bounce back, because if you went there, like after Kitrid came through, their numbers plummeted drastically.
Yeah. We saw the same thing with Mixophis flayi up here in the flayi were in really, really low numbers with the exception of a couple of sites, and now they seem to have really bounced back quite considerably. So
absolutely. I think there's a thing with Mixophis as well. There's been a few papers on them being somewhat resistant to Kitrid and bouncing back really well. So they're a good species to focus on for a captive breeding program if the aim of that program is to reintroduce them to their original ranges, because in saying that they should do well.
They have high levels of fecundity as well, and they've got good resistance in regards to water changes for the tadpoles.
Yeah.
They can handle fairly wide ranges, and they're big tadpoles, so they're pretty robust as well.
They are.
Yeah.
They're sparse little tadpoles, and they're smart as well. Like having them in tanks, they swim up under the rocks when you try and catch them, and they wedge themselves in underneath the rocks and stuff, which is pretty interesting to see those sorts of behaviours that they have as well. And it's going really well.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was interesting. We didn't collect frogs. We collected tadpoles, because when you're establishing a breeding program, it's much better to take tadpoles than it is adult frogs from the wild, because you can kind of acclimate them to that captive environment.
Yeah.
And in saying so, it will be all they've ever known then, rather than taking an adult frog from the wild and then bringing it back into captivity and trying to breed it in a tank. If it's a fussy species of frog, you're going to have no luck trying to do that. So we reared the tadpoles, and they obviously had Kitrid when they came through, because they've got that keratin around their mouth where they have it as a tadpole. But we didn't want to treat them for Kitrid straight away. So we had them at slightly elevated temperatures just to kind of decrease the growth of Kitrid. And the frogs were like asymptomatic. You would have absolutely no idea that they were carrying Kitrid fungus. And some of them had a zoospore count of over 52,000. And they were perfectly fine.
Yeah, okay.
So it's just interesting observations that you see in captivity. You're kind of like, oh, you'd be fine.
Who do you guys admire most in your professional circle? Who's your mentor?
Oh, got to give it to Jared.
Yeah.
he's always been great for me. We're really good friends now as well, and he was always the one that's like, you got to go do this and go herping and do this and see this and read this book and do this. So he was always really great at shaping and mentoring me, so I'm very grateful for having him.
Jared's definitely a good egg.
Yeah, he's lovely.
He is.
Jared was one for me as well. For when I was younger and starting out, he pointed me in the right direction. And then also George and Chad as well have been really good mentors for me.
Where do you see yourselves professionally in the next 5 to 10 years?
I don't know. For me, I'm starting to do my master's in research now. So I'm going to do some research on the Australis, the frogs, at Symbio. And then after that, I'm not really sure where I'll kind of take it and go, but I'd love to do a bit more field work, maybe slowly move away from the captive industry a little bit more and just try and see kind of some different avenues in that sort of world.
I want to do more ecology. I'll be doing full-time ecological work.
You're going to go find the Bathurst Heelis dragons, mate?
Yeah, that's in the works, hopefully this year, if we're lucky. We need more sites though for them, but yeah, fingers crossed we do. That'd be cool.
That'd be a career highlight or a life highlight.
That would be.
Definitely, yeah.
I saw one in about 2001.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I had no idea of the significance of it at the time.
Oh, yeah.
Did you get photos?
No, I was drunk.
Oh.
You're drunk.
I went to Mount Panorama on the way through, and I saw one while I was at Mount Panorama.
Yeah, right.
Oh, that's great.
pretty
easy to tell it was a Tympanocryptus. There's nothing else out there that looked anything remotely like Tympanocryptus.
Yeah.
And I'd found Peterson Eye and Tetraparopha and Intima at that point in time. So I'd seen plenty of Tympanocryptus at that time, so it was pretty clear what it was, but it wasn't something that I was too worried about taking photos of at the time either. Back then I was using a film camera as opposed to digital.
Yeah, having been with you drunk, I can see why you didn't take photos.
I'm very, very pissed off now that I did not actually take more notice of what the significance was.
I know.
So.
Yeah, that would have been sick if you did.
But at the time, right, all they were thought to be was either Tympanocryptus lineata or Tympanocryptus intima, and they were all classed as being the same species.
Yeah.
I mean, Pingocola was a subspecies at best anyway.
Yeah.
So the only Tympanocryptus at the time that was thought to be of any significance, I suppose, was Pingocola, and that was only locally due to them having disappeared in Victoria at the time.
True.
So it wasn't like any Tympanocryptus were thought of being threatened or that there were any significance attached to them.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough.
Not something of note, and then you see the paper come out and you're like, oh, okay, fair enough. There you go. Yeah.
Hopefully we'll get a chance to get some photos this year.
100%. Can you guys give the listeners 3 of your favourite YouTube channels that you think that they might like to check out?
Jesse's Wildlife.
Excellent. That's obviously number 1. But who else, mate?
Oh, they have to be reptile people?
No.
No, you're just 3 of your favourites.
I like Marty and Michael. Do you know that?
Don't look up what Marty and Michael is.
Jesus, okay, fair enough.
Don't watch YouTube, to be honest.
I'm pretty bad. All I watch is like a YouTube channel called Explore With Us, which is the true crime stuff.
And you listen to ASMR stuff too. Actually, no, I like NKF herping's heaps good. I like them. And there's one more.
Extreme herping.
Oh, yeah.
That's really good.
Extreme herping.
Yes.
Kai and Michael.
That's Kai and Michael.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Jesse's Wildlife.
Kai and Michael's Extreme Herping, obviously Jesse's Wildlife.
And Marty and Michael.
All right, fair enough. We'll make sure they're in there for the show notes.
I'm waiting for someone to answer with Pornhub or something like that.
I should have.
Actually said that.
Are there any exciting projects that you guys are currently working on?
Exciting projects. So the reintroduction stuff, we just have new stuttering frogs in, so some more genetic diversity, which is pretty cool.
Yep.
But I'm working on my master's, so I'm putting my ethics applications in and stuff to actually start the research project. So that's pretty exciting because that's kind of the next step for me.
So what's your master's going to be on?
I'm going to do, sounds super weird, it's prebiotic supplementation in southern stuttering frog tadpoles.
Okay.
Because there's been some really good studies which my supervisors actually did on dietary manipulation in other frog species. They work closely with Michael McFadden.
Yep.
So he's done some stuff, similar stuff at Taronga of carotenoids in their frogs at Taronga.
Is that to improve the orange pigments and red pigments in the frogs?
No, you see changes in growth rates, survival rates. You'll see changes in behaviour, so increase what we call anti-predatory escape behaviours. So they're more likely to evade predators when you give them certain differences in their diets. And then I'm going to look at the kind of influence of prebiotics on the skin microbiome when they metamorph. So all of these things kind of link to things like disease resistance, increased survival when released out in the wild, and hardiness, basically. So basically, if you find really good data, you'll end up with a more viable population to release out into the wild, which means they're going to do even better.
Sounds like some really interesting cutting-edge stuff.
Yeah. And so it's pretty easy for me to do that while I'm working full-time and get my master's, and then I may go on to do my PhD somewhere down the line.
That's awesome, Amber.
Yeah. I reckon Jesse's project is breeding boygers.
No. Finding the Bathurst dragons.
Yeah. Bathurst dragons, yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah.
And his paper as well.
Oh, yeah, the paper I was working on, dragons as well. The Monaro dragons.
What bit of advice would you guys give to a novice herper?
Don't be a cunt.
Don't listen to what everybody tells you.
Yeah,
enjoy it, yeah.
Enjoy it, and don't get caught up in the drama and what everyone else says and the he said, she said.
And drop the ego.
Yeah. Awesome advice from a young couple.
Yeah,
awesome advice. Yeah.
Drop the ego. I like that one.
That'll be Jesse's new catchphrase.
I'll put that in my Instagram bio.
So we've had a couple of people ask some questions. From Zach Pickett, how old were you when you fell in love with reptiles, and who was your biggest influence growing up for both of you guys?
Oh, I reckon we can guess my answer. Steve Owen, of course.
Yeah.
I don't even know who my biggest influence was growing up. I just used to watch a bunch of videos and stuff on YouTube. I think it was just a bunch of people that I'd watch. I don't think I had a set one. I didn't actually watch that much Steve Irwin until I was a couple of years into reptiles. So he wasn't really fundamental for me getting into reptiles. So yeah, I don't know, to be honest. I used to watch heaps of Peter Birch and stuff when I was frothing over beardies and keeping and all that stuff when I was younger, and Brian Barczyk as well. Mm-hmm. So I guess they sort of helped me. I used to just sit down on my iPad and watch some bit of Dragon Care videos in my free time while I was getting hyped up for my pet beauty.
Berkey's pretty easy to watch too. He's a pretty good sort of a dude.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, that's probably it.
We also have another one from Kai Gold. What's your favourite accomplishment whilst working in your respective careers, and what is your favourite region to herp and why?
Kind of with the hard questions. I feel like I answered.
That's all right. I think you're going to have him scrubbing kanks, aren't you? Now?
Yeah, definitely. I always steal Kai to do the croc shows with me and stuff, so he's not going to be doing croc shows. I think actually one of my greatest accomplishments would be
getting me.
I actually won Outstanding Employee of the Year at the 2024 Illawarra Business Awards last year.
Oh, amazing.
That is awesome.
Yeah, that was a pretty good one. And favourite region to herp would be, I really loved Darwin, so I'd like to go back up the top end.
Fantastic.
I don't even know what my biggest accomplishment is. I think the paper that I'm working on will be when it's done. So maybe that.
Yeah.
Even though doesn't really answer the question. So I don't know. That's my answer. And then my favourite place to herp is probably, I like Komodo. Komodo is my favourite place too.
Fair enough.
So Southeast Asian herping.
Yeah. Oh, actually, I love Krabi. Actually, yeah, Krabi is my favourite place to herp.
Okay.
So,
this one's directed at Amber from Neil Whitelaw. Have you brought any of the field observations into the zoo, like temperatures and amounts of light? Symbio being open from 9:30 to 5 p.m. What is the schedule of lights for the on-display reptiles and amphibians? And is it possibly different to those that are off-display?
That's a good question. So for the first part, I think the more you get out in the field, the more you start to learn about not being scared of hot temperatures for certain species as well. Like you find netted dragons basking on 50-degree surfaces sometimes. I'm sure people have seen hotter. So if you can offer a really hot basking spot for some species, or when we used to have monitors and stuff, then definitely I will do that.
Yep.
But still giving them that ability to escape that heat if they want to as well. So kind of being able to find that happy medium in some of the tanks and stuff too. And then all the reptile house stuff is still on old school timers.
Yep.
So I'll change the photo periods depending on the kind of times of year. So I'll shorten them over the winter months and lengthen them over the spring, summer months. They match it, and it's good for breeding as well, changing those photo periods. And then all of our conservation stuff and a lot of the new display areas are on photoelectric cells. So whenever it gets light outside and whenever it gets dark, they turn on and off, which makes my job easier because you don't have to change the timers accordingly then, because it just naturally does it.
Yeah.
Which is great.
We also had a
timers are the bane of my existence. You have like a power outage, you have to go through and change like 60 or something.
That's why we use Grid Connect, eh? When the power comes back on, it just automatically resyncs again, eh? It's heaps fucking good.
That's heaps good. I know Taronga's new facilities are very tech.
Yeah.
They're like next level. Everything's computerized digitally. You can program each heat map on the program and you can change it, the times, just all on one computer. It's great.
Yeah.
Honestly, Grid Connect isn't that expensive.
Yeah.
We run it all on our phone. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a second part to this question from Neil, but we've already sort of answered it. So he was asking about the challenges with different species in the same enclosure, but we've already sort of spoken about that one.
Yeah.
We've got one final set of questions from Malcolm Campbell, Jesse.
Oh, God.
No.
Have you gotten over your fear of peacocks, and how are you with grasshoppers?
Oh, my God. Well, he's got this fear of mole crickets. So
Does he?
he's just as scared as I am, so he's got no ammo on me.
So in regards to peacocks, is it the males or the females, or there's no misogyny in regards to your fear of peacocks?
Oh, I don't know. Whichever ones, like, fluff their tail feathers out. But that was, like, only when I was a kid. I've gotten over that one.
Oh, so you got over that one, so that's all right. So it's just the grasshoppers that scare the shit out of you at the moment.
It's grasshoppers. But he's, like, just as bad with mole crickets, so... Yeah, it's because I had this one at, like, Australia Zoo when I was a kid. I don't even know a peacock thing with its tail, like, where they fluff their feathers out and then ran towards me. I got really scared and started crying.
That's all right, mate. I was scared of ducks and gooses when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah, that's weird.
It all happens.
Yeah.
I'm still scared of emus. One chased me around Featherdale Park when I was a kid, and I won't go near emus.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that would be scary. It's traumatizing.
Yeah, pretty much.
So this one's directed at Amber. Have you ever witnessed or experienced misogyny within your career? And in your opinion, what could be done to help stamp it out?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I think that personally I actually haven't. I think that at Symbio, as a volunteer, they could see that I worked hard and I was passionate and kind of knew, like, I researched stuff, I read books. And so I think that I was always just taken seriously, and people could see that I was a hard worker, so I don't think it mattered whether I was a male or a female. So no, I haven't personally experienced it.
You said you like books. What are your favourite herp books?
So you got to say their books.
Your books.
Oh, you don't have to say it. You definitely don't have to say our books.
Checks in the mail, but yeah, totally don't have to say it.
No, they're great books. Definitely, they absolutely are. I like the new Elapid one. I got that one. There's not many books on Elapid, so it's really, really helpful. But I think the first couple of books I ever read was Rick Shine's Natural History of Snakes. And then I think, like, just getting into keeping, a really good book was A Guide to Health and Diseases in Reptiles and Amphibians.
Yep.
I like that one because it goes into a bit more detail about, like, POTS points, like preferred optimal temperature zones, and the effects of UV gradients and stuff, which You don't find that often in books, so I like that one too. That's kind of a book I recommend to new and upcoming volleys that are interested in getting into keeping, because it has a little bit of stuff about husbandry requirements, things like that.
So we do a little segment called 60 Seconds Under the Basking Spot.
Uh-oh.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Coffee.
Sweet or savoury?
Sweet.
Sweet.
Text or call?
Call.
Cool.
You guys night owls or early birds?
Night owl.
Early bird.
That's interesting, first thing in the morning then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jesse's not a morning person.
That's all right. I know what you like, Amber. I'm the same as you, mate.
Do you sleep with the fan on or off?
I like to sleep with the fan on, but sometimes I just...
I like it on sometimes, but facing away from me because I don't like how it feels.
Tidy or messy?
I'm tidy at work. I can be messy at home.
Optimists or realists?
Optimist.
Realist.
Would you rather get stuck in an elevator or on a roller coaster?
Coaster.
Yeah,
I'll
right.
go roller coaster too. Fuck being stuck in an elevator.
I want to be trapped in an enclosed space.
Yeah, 100%.
Accomplice or ringleader?
Accomplice.
And finally, does pineapple go on a pizza?
Yes.
No.
Gotcha, Amber.
No chance.
Love your work, Jesse.
Yeah.
Yuck, yuck, yuck.
What's one takeaway that you'd like the audience to get from this episode?
Dumplings. Yum.
Dumplings. Did you say dumplings?
Yes.
Well, okay, fair enough. We haven't had that as an answer before. That's good. I like it.
Yeah, they're good. They're so good.
Don't get takeaway. Make your own food. It's better.
Where can our listeners find you guys?
Jesse's Wildlife on everything. That's just constant across all the platforms.
I thought you meant like in real life.
Oh, God, no. We're not giving out anybody's home address,
no street address.
No.
Just stalking you suddenly around the cages at Symbio or something like
So
that.
I was going to say at Symbio.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
No, what's your answer?
My Instagram is AMBSZK.
Awesome.
Zookeeper. ZK.
AM Zookeeper.
Cool. We'll throw it in the show notes.
Still,
Thanks for listening to the Cold-Blooded Contributions podcast. The Cold-Blooded Contributions podcast is proudly sponsored by Midwest Tongs. For over 40 years, the Midwest Tongs team has provided the highest quality snake handling tools made in the USA. Made by professionals for professionals. Visit Midwest Tongs at www.tongs.com. A massive thank you to our guests, Amber and Jesse. We really appreciate you guys taking the time out of your busy schedule to talk to us. Usually we release our podcast monthly, so make sure you follow us so you don't miss out on an episode. Give the Cold-Blooded Contributions podcast a like on Facebook so you don't miss any updates, giveaways or guest announcements. The links discussed in today's podcast will be in the show notes. And always remember to trust your creativity, it's intelligence having fun.